Today's video is about how to improve communication between couples. My name is Leah Nguyen. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and this is the #1 issue that I hear from clients coming into my office. And usually it's around the topic of arguments, bickering. How do we improve our communication so that we can have a peaceful, healthy relationship where we can talk things through and not have things blow up into an argument? So here we go. The most important thing I would say is you need to get calm. So we know that there are different parts of our brain, and there's one part of our brain that activates the fight or flight response. And when you are in that part of your brain, you are going to, one, fight or flee, and then there's also freeze, and then there's fawn. But anyway, I'm just gonna stick to fight or flee, right? Fighting is where you want to hurt the other, like there's a bear, right? In the caveman days, you're gonna wanna fight the bear, or you're gonna run away from the bear. And in an argument, if you are in that part of your brain, you are not in a place to solve a problem. You are not in a place to empathize. You just see your partner as a threat. And so you're gonna either fight them, try to hurt them, or you are going to shut down, run away, leave, which can make the other person feel abandoned, right? So I would say when you feel your brain getting into that fight or flight space, you need to take a break, tell the other person, hey, I don't think this is productive right now. Let's come back when we're both calm. And then when you're calm, that's when you can re-engage, because your rational part of your brain is working, and you can say, this person is not my enemy, this person is not a threat, this is a person that I love, and I can act accordingly. That's the most important thing. You cannot work out a fight when you are angry. The next one is when you are talking to the other person and you're maybe sharing something that you are not happy with, try not to use blaming language. I notice that sometimes when people are talking about what they are angry about with their spouse or their partner, they'll say something like, you do this, you do that, you are selfish, you don't care about me, you don't prioritize me. And oftentimes what I'll say is, okay, can you say those same things? Don't use the word you, instead use the word I. Tell them how you feel. What does it do inside of you? Right? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing as a result of what they're doing? So an example, someone might say, you always prioritize work. You don't care about the family. You're just selfish, on and on. And so what I say is, okay, change it to I, right? So this is what we call I statements. And don't say, I feel like you're selfish. I feel like don't do that. What's going on inside of you? How do you feel when your partner is taking a call during the dinner, right? How do you feel when your spouse is, locked in their room working all night when you're trying to have family time? So what I usually reframe for them, or usually help them get to, is something like this. When you are taking a call during dinner, or you're in your office late at night and I can't access you, I feel very alone. I feel uncared for, and I feel like I'm not important to you, right? So do you see the difference between blaming language and using I statements? And it's not that one is right or wrong, right? I would say, what is your goal? What is your reaction going to get from the other person? If you use blaming statements, you're going to get defensiveness. If you use I statements, the hope is you will get empathy. And that's what I always encourage the listener, is to empathize, to hear, to receive. So using softer language, using I statements, you can still tell the truth. You're not watering it down. You're saying the same thing, but in a way that the other person is going to hear you, and you're going to get what you need in return. So the next thing I want to talk about in terms of communication is a mindset about how people view working things out. And oftentimes it's misguided. People sometimes will say, well, I just want to sit down where you say your point of view and I say my point of view, and then we come up with a compromise. Now that, an ideal world, is great. And I think they're probably getting that from the workplace. And it works there, right? Because you're working with a common goal, you're both rational, you're both putting on your work persona. I think in the relationship realm, it's different, because you're working with the emotions. Your job isn't on the line here. You're really your true self, which is not a bad thing, right? But things are going to be more raw. You're going to be triggered. You're going to say how you feel. There's just so much more at play here that's emotional. And so you can't just have one person talk and the other person give a rebuttal. When that happens, one person will say their point of view, and then the other person will say, well, that's not really like how it is from my point of view, right? So say, for example, if I say to my spouse, I feel like you don't prioritize the family. You are always at work and you're always on your phone. How would he respond in a situation where, you each say your side? He would say, well, actually, that's not the case. I do prioritize the family. That's why I work so hard. It's for all you guys. And I do spend time with you. And then my response would be like, but no, you don't, right? And so it's just this back and forth and we're not getting anywhere. Then it just escalates and escalates and escalates. Right? And this is probably a pattern that you're seeing in your own relationship. So what I often say is it's not a back and forth, right? When we're dealing with communication and working out issues, it has to be one at a time, right? Where you put aside your own feelings and you listen. And then that other person puts aside their feelings and their point of view and they listen. It can't be both people sharing it has to be one at a time because both of you are feeling two different things. So for an example, I would say, I feel like you're always on the phone, you're never present during the dinner table, you're always at work. Now, the spouse, if he can come from an emotional point of view, he would get outside of his own mind and put himself in her shoes, right? He could say, okay, I could see how what I'm doing is making you feel that way. Right? Even though that's not really what he's doing. Maybe it's busy season. Maybe right now there's just a lot that he needs to do to get his promotion and he's doing all of this for the family. He needs to get outside of what he's thinking and he needs to put himself in her shoes. I'll give you another example. This is personally from my own marriage. The other day, my husband and I were talking about ways to communicate with our children. We give each other advice all the time. He gives me advice, I give him advice, kind of things that we see. We're always trying to be better parents. We're always trying to be better spouses. We're just always trying to be better. So I said, hey, I noticed, yesterday you were doing this and that, and maybe it might be helpful if you do this or that instead. And I think it rubbed him the wrong way. He felt like I was criticizing him, I was blaming him. I can honestly say that's not at all what I was trying to do. It ended up, he walked out, he needed some space, which is fine. I wasn't mad, but anyway, he walked out and I thought to myself, okay, how can I repair this? Because I know in my heart that I really wasn't trying to criticize him. But I'm not gonna go to him and say, hey, I wasn't trying to criticize you. Can't you see? Because I know that wouldn't be good, right? It would just make him feel invalidated. And I know most people hate it when you say, I'm sorry you feel that way. It kind of puts the blame on them. So instead I said, hey, I could see how what I said to you made you feel that way, right? I think that was a really good start. And I think it just opened up the conversation for how I could communicate better with him, right? But you see, if I had gone into, well, actually, that's not what I was saying. If you read the text or if you listen to what I was saying this, this, and that, it would have just ended up a big argument, right? So I put my own feelings aside. I listened to him. He's saying, yeah, when you said this, this, and that, it made me feel like you didn't trust me or you didn't think I was a good dad. And then my response to that was, yeah, I could really see how, maybe the words that I said felt that way. And then I follow up with, I really didn't mean it that way, I promise, but I could see how that it would make you feel that way. And I just want you to know you're a really great dad. And I know that this is just a way for us to improve. It wasn't a criticism at all. And he took that well. So you see how just putting aside maybe our own point of view and affirming what the other person might be feeling, even if it wasn't true to what we were feeling or thinking, is really helpful, right? So sort of an advanced skill in communication, but the goal is really for you to be able to be true to what was really going on and take responsibility for the parts that you did, while at the same time affirming the other person and what they felt and not disregarding what they feel or gaslighting them into thinking that it was their fault, right? We really want to come from an honest and loving place. The next thing I want to target is what happens if your partner does something that hurts you, that really wasn't meant to hurt you. It was something maybe they didn't know, or maybe just something very small that they really had no idea, but it really hurt you. A lot of times when this happens, say I'm the one that's hurt, I will bring it up and then he'll get offended. Like, why did you get so mad about that? Like, that was nothing. And then it just ends up a big argument. So my response to that is to understand, discern, right? when your partner is really doing something to hurt you, maybe it's something they knew already and they didn't do, that's reason to say, hey, you knew this, like what happened? Did you just forget, right? That's reason to kind of be hurt. Or if they were blatantly rude or, there's something that was blatant, right? Now, if it was something they didn't know and they didn't mean to do, I think that's where, from our point of view or from your point or whoever's point of view that's hurt, you have to do some extra communicating, right? You have to communicate, hey, I know that you didn't mean to do this. I know that you were probably just busy or zoned out, or you didn't realize this about me. That's the first part. The second part is to state your intention. I don't even need a sorry from you. I don't need you to do anything. And then state what you need. I just need you to maybe be more aware, just hear me out, right? So they know, one, that you're not blaming them, and two, what you need from them. Right? So I'll give you an example. Say, for example, I hear a lot of in-law issues in my practice, right? Say your mother-in-law keeps putting food on your plate. This is a very Asian thing. Now, mom's intention is good, right? That's their way of like caring for you. But maybe for you, it just feels very belittling. Maybe you feel like a kid. Maybe it feels like it's crossing your boundaries, right? And your husband isn't doing anything about it. He knows that you have issues with his mom, but he doesn't say anything. And so you go to him later on and you say, you could say, hey, like, why didn't you say anything? Like, you're so passive. Like, you always side with your mom. Now, what kind of response is that going to get, right? It's going to be escalated. It's going to end up with an argument. Now, what can you say instead? So one, give them the benefit of the doubt, right? It's not something huge, right? Two, state your intention. And I just want you to know, I'm not trying to blame you, right? I'm not really that angry. I just want to get it off my chest. And then three, tell them what you want from him, because he probably doesn't know what you want him to do about it, right? You can say, and I don't really need you to talk to your mom. I don't want you to talk bad about your mom. I just want you to hear me out and just support me. And then they can say, oh, okay, like no problem, I can do that, right? But if you go to them with like, your mom is this, your mom is that, he's gonna be flooded like, oh my God, like what do I do, right? I don't know what she wants me to do. So if you can just lay it out, one, give them the benefit of the doubt, two, your intention for saying it, and three, what you need from them. It's going to really help them to put on the right frame of mind to hear you out, to listen to you, to give you whatever you need, right? So again, this is for things that are more small and nuanced, where your partner wouldn't necessarily know what to do with your information. You communicate that to them, because they don't know what it is you want from them. Maybe you might not even know what you want from them. So you need to maybe take a step back and say, what is it that I need from them? Why is it that I'm sharing? And then communicate that to your partner. So hopefully that was helpful. If there's any other question that you have, put them down in the chat. Any tips that you have for communication, put it down in the chat. You can access my website below for more tips if you want to work with me, all that good stuff. Take care.